June 14th, 2013. The PS3, in its last year of the 7th console generation, would release a game that was full of depth and surprises, mixing adventure, action, exploration, and even stealth mechanics. The Last of Us, with its, at the time, unequaled production value, would become a bigger hit than many anticipated, and would yet again put another feather in the cap at Naughty Dog Studios. How big, you may ask? Big enough to sell well over 17 million copies between the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 consoles, and have gamers everywhere looking forward to its sequel. With the recent announcement of The Last of Us Part 2 release date of February 21st, 2020, I thought we'd take a look back at just where it all began at Naughty Dog Studios. Co-founders Andy Gavin and Jason Rubin both met in grade school at the age of 12. As big fans of computers and gaming, they'd instantly become great friends, and eventually they would try their own hand at creating video games. And by the tender age of 15, they'd have already had their first game published, Ski Crazed, under the development team moniker Jam Software. As time went on, they would soon catch the attention of a bigger publishing company, Electronic Arts, where they would find out that the name Jam Software was already taken by some other company. So to avoid any legal action against them, they would quickly rename their small two-man operation to Naughty Dog. With EA as their publisher, they'd go on to make a game called Rings of Power. And later, underneath Universal Interactive Studios, they'd create a game called Way of the Warrior. Both games would go on to achieve minor success, but it wouldn't be until 1996, when they'd release a game for Sony's first console into the gaming market, the PlayStation, that Naughty Dog would gain mass appeal, and they'd essentially create PlayStation's very first mascot.
Hey, plumber boy, mustache man, your worst nightmare has arrived. Pack up your stuff!
Published by Vivendi Games and Sony Computer Entertainment, Crash Bandicoot was a massive hit among gamers. With the growing attention and continued success, Naughty Dog would expand their studio, hiring even more talent from around the industry.
I first heard about Naughty Dog, gosh, it must have been back in 1995.
I had just come from a standard game studio.
I was actually working in the film industry.
And I got a call about this place called Naughty Dog.
It's a startup, it'll probably fold.
And first I thought it was like a porn studio or something.
Naughty Dog would continue to work with Sony and the PlayStation brand to create yet another beloved franchise.
I swear, that's the last time I ever touch any stupid precursor crap!
The Jak and Daxter series would be their first step into creating games that were more story-driven, and they would also give us a bit more immersion as well. And as the gaming consoles gained more power, Naughty Dog would take full advantage. At the time, Uncharted would be Naughty Dog's most ambitious game. It would mark the first time they'd use motion capture, place a heavy emphasis on story, and create a game within a more realistic world. Uncharted would definitely be a departure from what they were used to creating, but after the success of both the Crash Bandicoot and the Jak and Daxter series, Sony would have full confidence in the team's new IP for their upcoming PlayStation 3 console. Needless to say, Uncharted became a massive hit for both Naughty Dog and Sony. So much so that they'd go on to make 4 more games in the series, if you include Lost Legacy, of course. And it would be this franchise that would really solidify Naughty Dog's place among the top developers in the industry. It would be sometime during the creation of Uncharted 3 that some of the team at Naughty Dog, including creative director Neil Druckmann, would be pulled from the game and put to work on a new project. A game that would seem to be even more ambitious for the team. This would be a game that would place huge emphasis on character development and building a bond between 2 central characters. Naughty Dog would take what they learned about character development with the Uncharted series and up the ante with The Last of Us 2 main characters, Joel and Ellie. This would have them create an emotionally charged roller coaster of a game that would go on to heavily impact millions of gamers everywhere.
Stop! Fucking touch me!
It's okay. It's me. It's me. It's me. Look. It's me.
He tried to...
Oh, baby girl. It's okay. It's okay.
No.
It's okay.
It's not that the game itself had unique gameplay mechanics or the story was unlike anything we've seen or heard before, as on paper, the game would be set in your typical post-apocalyptic world where you not only have to compete for basic necessities such as food and shelter against other people, but also against the affected zombie-like humanoids known as clickers. And while it seemed that very little would be unique to the game at face value, once you dove into the game it was very evident at just how special this game really was. Again, it wasn't the unique gameplay or even its story, but it was the way it was told. It was the stellar voice acting. It was the creation of this deep bond between two characters that unfolded with such emotion that it truly touched millions of gamers in a way that most games never had before. These are some of the reasons why I personally hold this game in such high regard. In fact, The Last of Us just so happens to be one of my favorite games ever. When The Last of Us 2 was announced, it had gamers, including myself, very excited. We all want to see where this story continues, where Joel and Ellie ended up. Is their bond as strong as ever? Just how is this post-apocalyptic world treating them as they grow older? It's questions like this, along with many others, that millions of us want answered, including the big question, will we get to play as Joel in any of the missions? As you know, we got to play a younger Ellie in some of the missions in the first game, and I can't help but wonder, will the same thing be applied to Joel's character in the second game? Again, it's all of these unknowns along with the new AI improvements and the new enemy types and the boss battles that definitely make this one of the most anticipated games in 2020. If nothing else, The Last of Us 2 shows growth, not just in animations, gameplay, or even storytelling, but moreover, it shows just how much Naughty Dog's passion for the creation of their games has grown exponentially. It's been 35 years since this once two-man operation started making games, and in my opinion, Naughty Dog just seems to be getting better with each new franchise. It's definitely why I personally consider Naughty Dog to be one of the best developers in the game. And I, like many of you, am not only looking forward to seeing what the next chapter in the Last of Us series has to offer, but I also look forward to whatever it is they decide to create in the future, as I'm sure that whatever it may be, Naughty Dog will not only continue to have a huge impact on gamers, but they'll also continue to have a huge impact on the industry itself.
Please stop!
The valley of the shadow of death, and I fear no evil because I'm blind to it all. In my mind, my gun, they comfort me, because I know I'll kill my enemies when they come. What the hell are you doing here?
You think I'd let you do this on your own?